The Reverend Jesse Jackson passed away late last month, and his funeral was held this Friday. Now, as is a lot of these types of funerals of civil rights leaders, such as Jesse Jackson, there was a huge turnout from a bunch of the lib elite, which included 3 different presidents and a lady who wasn't the president and really wanted to be. But President Biden, President Obama, President Clinton all spoke at the memorial service for Jesse Jackson. Now, here was the thing that was fascinating to me. This is a funeral service. It's a memorial service, and whether or not you liked the guy, I have some strong opinions. You should probably do what the family asks. So what is it that the family was asking at the funeral for their father? Well, this is Jesse Jackson Jr. prior to the big national memorial, which, by the way, there was a bunch of different, memorial services at different types of places. This is what he was talking to on that front, but also was clearly speaking to the broader, bigger, televised national funeral that was held in his father's honor, in which several presidents came to, and they all ignored the one thing that he asked.
Funerals were not for the dearly departed. He believed funerals were for the living. He believed that they were great gathering meetings, and no two life or lives in human history will have the same number of people attending their funerals, or the same people will be at their funerals, because your friends ain't my friends ain't your friends. We don't know the same people. You don't know the same people that I know. Do not bring your politics out of respect to Reverend Jesse Jackson and the life that he lived to these homegoing services. Come respectful and come to say thank you. But these homegoing services are welcome to all. Democrat, Republican, liberal, and conservative.
Now, obviously making the case there, hey, this is not about politics. This is my dad. He's speaking. We don't want to talk about that. We just want to talk about his life, the life that he lived. And yeah, may there be some intertwining in the public sector or the civil sector that he participated in greatly? Yes, but overall, actually, it's a pretty good point that he's making. Look, not everybody goes to everybody else's funerals. There are people that are going to be at this funeral that don't really know the political angle, because not everything in life is about politics all the time. And so it's actually a really interesting point and a very, in my opinion, good ask. Hey, leave the politics at the door. Now, did anybody follow instructions? I don't know. Let's take a look. Because we're going to play a clip from Reverend Al Sharpton, who is a race hustler and says things that are crazy a lot of the time. Did he have the ability to leave his politics at the door? You decide, cut 7.
But people at the same time are killing illegal immigrants. People at the same time cutting public funding. At the same time, sitting up here talking about, oh, they got all the power, we can't win. We got to win, because they put the seeds of victory in us. If we just nurture them and grow, Hakeem Jeffries be the Speaker of the House. If we keep on winning, we'll get the Senate back. If we keep winning, we can save health care for our grandmamas. If we keep winning, we can bring about criminal justice reform. If we keep winning, we can have 2 Jackson boys in the Congress. We didn't come this far to turn around now.
Okay, so now, obviously, it's Al Sharpton. He's not super bright, and he's very bad at following instructions, but I immediately gets into not only like, hey, this political direction or this political position, it gets so granular. He says, Hakeem Jeffries needs to be the Speaker of the House. Jesus, dude, the family asked one thing. Don't bring your politics to this funeral. And again, to Jesse Jackson Jr.'s point, and I would imagine I disagree with him a lot on things politically. He said this is for conservatives, liberals, everybody on the political spectrum alike. Just, this is not a place to talk politics. Now, to be fair, nobody had any high expectations for Al Sharpton. Again, not a very bright guy and a race hustler who takes every opportunity to pound his point of view, politically speaking, that he can. Okay, so what about getting higher up the chart here a little bit? What did President Barack Obama have to say at Jesse Jackson's funeral? Again, remembering that politics setting all of this aside.
In a time when it can be hard to hope, each day we wake up to some new assault on our democratic institutions. Another setback to the idea of the rule of law. An offense to common decency every day you wake up to. Each day we're told by those in high office to fear each other and to turn on each other, and that some Americans count more than others, and that some don't even count at all. Everywhere we see greed and bigotry being celebrated, and bullying and mockery masquerading as strength. We see science and expertise denigrated, while ignorance and dishonesty and cruelty and corruption are reaping untold rewards.
First things first, and we'll go through this least important to most important, and actually pretty interesting. First things first is, you notice he threw on the little accent there, little kind of appealing to the crowd that he was speaking to. Kind of a thing that, at that level, don't you think you would notice that you do that yourself? Like, I understand when Jasmine Crockett, is getting asked questions by different people, she might want to throw a little bit of a spin on how she talks, but at Obama's level, don't you think you would notice that he was doing that? Second thing that I think is fascinating here is the idea that, well, now Americans are divided, and they're divided because the White House and the current political situation. If you remember, race relations got worse under President Obama because he was, in fact, the divider-in-chief. This is the classic example of accuse your enemies of that which you are doing. President Obama was the one who instigated a lot of the racial tension that is currently going on in the country. Now, to say it's not going on would be silly, but a lot of it comes from President Obama. Obama's Justice Department, by the way, out of all of the different things that happened in Obama's tenure, the Michael Brown shooting, I think, was one of the biggest ones where Obama came out and said, this is, really stoked race relations here. And then a couple months later, his own Justice Department say, yeah, the whole hands up, shoot, don't shoot thing didn't ever happen. We've talked about that on this show a number of times before. Hilarious. Again, accuse your enemy of that which you are doing and did yourself. Now, the last point, which I think is the most interesting here, is the question of why is Obama taking political stances at a funeral to begin with? Generally speaking, historically speaking, especially in modern political history, once you leave the White House, you don't really comment on much going on. We saw that from President H.W. Bush, Clinton, W. Bush. Obama's kind of the first president with no other political aspirations, right? He's not going to run for Congress or the Senate. I don't think he's going to try to get appointed to the Supreme Court, to go back into politics. And what's even weirder is he took a really, really long gap between exiting the White House and kind of coming back into the political realm. If you follow Barack Obama on social media, which I do, all of a sudden, in the last couple months, has gotten very politically involved. So the question is why? And the only conclusion that I think I can come to is I think he might think that there is dirt on him. And unlike past administrations who are just like, let bygones be bygones, the Trump administration, for many reasons, one, justice, two, the fact that they tried to put him in jail for 1,000 years, might actually say, hey, let's take a look at some of the things the Obama administration did, and let's see if maybe, possibly, there's some dirt there, which would incentivize Obama to get out there and get very active politically, as he probably still is the most popular lib on the lib side of the aisle. Maybe that's the reason why he's now coming back into the public limelight and trying to engineer elections to go his way, because he's very afraid that somebody might find out something about him. This is President Biden talking about politics, but in politics and regarding his own stutter. He used Jesse Jackson's funeral to defend that.
If I told you all earlier when I was a kid I had a cleft palate, or club foot, none of you would have laughed. But it's okay to laugh at stuttering. I'm not being critical of you, but think about it. It's the one place where people think you're stupid. Oh, really? I'm a hell of a lot smarter than most of you.
What? Honest to God, seriously, what? First of all, the venue is a little strange. Former Mr. President, you've been out of office for a while now, and that was a political jab being thrown at you 2 or 3 years ago? Now, okay, one, you decide you need to defend it. Two, you decide to defend it at the funeral of a civil rights activist? I don't, of all the places, dude, kind of odd. And lastly, I don't know why this is a recurring theme of white presidential candidates, presidents, libs, getting up in front of black audiences saying, you're dumb. Now, obviously, Gavin Newsom did it by saying, I'm just as dumb as you. I can't even read. And now President Biden is saying it, I'm a heck of a lot smarter than you. The clear and abundant racism on the lib side of the aisle is astonishing to me in so many ways. Now, of course, nobody followed the family guidelines, and you wonder, well, is anybody going to say anything about it? Well, the guy that we visited previously in today's episode, Jesse Jackson Jr., the next day was speaking, I believe, at another church in which he called out all of the presidents, Biden, Obama, also Clinton included, but Clinton, we don't have time to play all of his clips.
Yesterday, I listened for several hours of 3 United States presidents who do not know Jesse Jackson. He maintained a tense relationship with the political order, not because the presidents were white or black, but the demands of our message demanded not Democratic or Republican solutions, but demanded a consistent, prophetic voice that at no point in time ever sold us out as a people.
Now, there's several things going on here. First of which is the thing we've been talking about. He said, I watched 3 presidents who did not know him in an intimate way, like, his son obviously would, get up there and talk politics. Basically slamming all of those presidents, saying, what did we talk about prior to this? Why are you using my dad's funeral to talk politics and make your own case for whatever political policy position that you're actually out in front of nowadays? Why? Why are we doing this? And then, obviously, the difference in agreements that I would have with the guy is, he said, because Jesse Jackson never sold out black people. Which, again, I don't look at the world that way. I don't think that that's how anybody should look at the world, through the lens of race. But also, if you're going to, what he's effectively saying is all of those presidents that used his dad's funeral to get up there and talk politics did sell out black people. Again, I don't think that's not the way that I look at the world, but if it is the way that he looks at the world, he basically slammed them again. One, saying that, yeah, you guys didn't know my dad. Then 2, saying, you sold us out. This doesn't really have anything to do with the politics of it. This is just an honorable mention that I had to play here. I thought we were done with the phrase unburdened by what has been. If you had made bets that Kamala Harris would use that phrase yet again, you would be a very, very wealthy person.
Understand, as has been said, the beauty that comes after the storm when we see what is possible and what can be unburdened by what has been.
Don't! I assumed we were done with that. Libs just can't help themselves. They can't help but project what they think onto everybody else and think that everybody else should just sit there and take it. Jesse Jackson Jr. said, hey, please don't talk politics, and then all of them did. And then he slammed them for it afterward. But what's really interesting about all of this, and again, this completely separate from my opinions on Jesse Jackson as a political figure, as an activist, because I probably disagreed with that guy on 99.9% of things. What's interesting about all of this is there was a president that did also make some remarks and didn't attend the funeral, but did sound quite different to those who spoke at the funeral trying to push their own political agendas. And that president was President Trump. This is President Trump just after the death of Jesse Jackson, who, interestingly enough, had he been invited to the funeral, had he attended the funeral and been invited to speak, would have been the only person there who abided by the rules that the family had set.
Begin by expressing our sadness at the passing of a person who I knew very well. Jesse was a piece of work, I want to tell you. He was a piece of work, but he was a good man. He was a real hero, and I just want to pay my highest respects to Reverend Jesse Jackson. He's a good man. He was actually, as you got to know him, he got better and better all the time. A lot of people, you get to know him, they get worse and worse. Jesse got better and better. But I knew him well long before becoming president, and he really was special with lots of personality, grit, and street smarts. You would say Jesse had serious street smarts, right? A very important ingredient to life, I will tell you. He was gregarious and someone who truly loved people and a force of nature. He was somebody that we're going to greatly miss. And on behalf of everyone here today, I know you join me in sending our condolences to the entire family. Had a great family.
Now, this is not to say that Trump doesn't also sometimes run his mouth a little bit and get off script and go a direction that not all of us would want him to go. But at least in this instance, unlike all of the libs that chose Jesse Jackson's funeral to push their own political message, President Trump just kind of said, hey, this is what I thought of the guy as an individual, not his political stances, not the political climate of today, but just of the guy. Which honestly is probably what you want if a eulogy is to be given. Really interesting political times that we live in nowadays, and it's going to be fascinating to see the trajectory of libs who just can't help themselves and how they interact with the current political climate.